communication mistakes early on in the dating process and that we may not realize that we're doing it. Again, we're talking early in the dating process. Thank you so much for joining us again on Second Act TV. Happy to welcome back Sandy Weiner, the founder of Last First Date and the author of Choice Points in Dating. Thanks for being here again, Sandy.
So glad to be back, Silka.
Well, we want to get straight to your great advice that you also cover in the book, so pick that up. This is interesting. This is about communication mistakes early on in the dating process and that we may not realize that we're doing it. Again, we're talking early in the dating process. The first one, knowing when and what to text. You have 5 texting principles that can make all the difference in the early stages of dating. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, people get really stuck in this stage and they have no idea what to do. And everything relies on texting. So the first thing is a lot of women are waiting for men to message. And on most dating apps, men or women can message, but if you're a woman, don't wait for a man to text you. Don't passively wait. You're not passive usually in the rest of your life. So if you like somebody, send the first message. What happens is so many people wait, and then whatever they receive is just what falls into the net. And that's really just so random. So that's the first thing. Just make the first move. Men and women, but women who are waiting and think that men have to chase them or whatever old ideas you have about that.
No, that's a great point, because women, especially our age, that's still up here. Absolutely, online, make the first move. You have nothing to lose. At least I can't think of anything. The second here, great point. Keep messages interesting, yeah, but open-ended, and I think that's where most people go wrong.
Oh my God, I've seen so many people, and I work with clients. We go online together, so I can see what they're messaging. I help them with their messaging. And they'll say things like, where do you live? That's a one-word answer, right? Why do you want to know that? What's important about that? That's not a very interesting question. What do you do for a living? A little bit more interesting, but most people are like, hi, hello, good morning. Yeah, really boring. And usually it doesn't advance past that. And with a couple of those messages, most people are going to just unmatch because it's just too much work. So find something in their profile. Hopefully they've written something. If they haven't, I wouldn't spend too much time on that person anyway, because they haven't put anything into the whole dating process. But find something you like that caught your interest. Tell them why it caught your interest. Oh, I see that you run marathons. I also run marathons. The last one I did was the New York Marathon. What about you? So always end with a question.
You said you're also, after 2 or 3 exchanges, make sure that you start on the phone. Ask if they can continue the conversation on the phone. Great tip.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't do it. I've had people tell me, oh, I've been talking to this person online for 2 weeks, 2 months. I'm like, what? You have never gotten on a call? Like, you don't even know if they're real. They could be catfishing you. You have no idea. Like, what is going on here? So everybody's waiting for the other person to invite them to meet or go on get on a phone call. The phone call to me is the pre-date, and I think it's really important.
I mean, it's the natural progression. So yeah, so just do it. And then, like you're saying, the early stages again, the texting is just for logistics. You don't communicate, you don't get to know somebody on text, and that's another big mistake. And then, you say here, once you have been on a successful first date, you can begin to text a little bit more, but still, it's the worst way to get to know someone.
It really is. I mean, if you're in a relationship and you want to text something sexy or, that's a whole different thing. You're daily texting when you're already in a relationship. But you're just getting to know someone.
Mhm.
Texting is a cowardly way to communicate. I've had clients who have had fights with friends and they want to make up, and we've gone through a whole script of how they're going to make up, and they go, "Yeah, I think I'll text that to her this week." And I'm like, you are not texting this.
Yeah,
This is an emotional conversation. You need to have voice to voice, whether you're going to
right.
meet in person or talk on the phone. Nothing that's emotional or could be misinterpreted should be texted.
Right, exactly. Number two here. This is a good one. Expressing relationship goals that a lot of people are afraid to say what they want from a relationship. And you say here that they're afraid to say it. I'll read what you say here. It's on the first few dates. And for me, that's an important word, few dates. I think, and I was just had a conversation with April Beyer. She's a matchmaker. I think you know her. Her point is that on the very first date, it's a futile question because you're not likely going to get the right answer. So I want to talk about that with you because I agree. If you're not on the same page, then why go forward? But is the first date, is that a good time to do it?
I have asked it on a first phone call, and I'll tell you why. I mean, you can also see in people's profiles what they're looking for. A lot of them will say, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just looking for something casual. So don't even, if you're not on the same page, don't contact
Mm-hmm.
that person. I had a phone call with a guy who had just gotten divorced from his second wife, and he starts telling me all of the stuff that's going on for him. So his
Mm-hmm.
timing was not good. He was
Mm-hmm.
really just looking for friends right
Mm-hmm.
now. He
Mm-hmm.
told me that. And I said, when I first got divorced, I was looking for friends too. I didn't really know what I wanted. And it sounds like we're really on a different pages.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for a life partner. You're looking to figure out your relationship goals. And
Mm-hmm.
so I knew that before we met. And in fact,
Yeah.
that phone call lasted 10 minutes. And it was kind. I wished him well. He wished me well. Nobody had to waste time talking.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's too early. I mean, I think somebody can say they're looking for a long-term relationship and not
Mm-hmm.
mean it,
Mm-hmm.
but I think we all should know what we're on there for and state it. Now, how they behave is a different story.
I think that, and that it really got me thinking when April said that, because I think, like, on the phone call, I agree with you on a phone call because you don't have that personal connection yet. Maybe you are more likely to say exactly, what it is that you believe you're looking for. But that face to face, if you say this to somebody you don't know, are you going to get an accurate answer, especially if the person maybe isn't attracted to you? Maybe they really are looking for a relate. I mean, then it wouldn't work out anyway. But
Right.
I don't know. I'd like to hear from our listeners, our viewers, because for some reason that really hit home with me that
Mhm.
that first question on again, first date, that could just bring up a lot of negative stuff that maybe, I don't know. Let's see if there's a connection first and then talk about, well, what is it that you want? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, somebody could be looking for a long-term relationship, but not
Mm-hmm.
with you. That's fine.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
you don't want to know that they're just trying to figure stuff out. Then you're going to be the experiment, and I think that's an important thing. I don't think there's a lot of negativity that can happen if you ask that question.
Yeah, it's a great question, and that's why I want to go a little bit deeper there because there are varying opinions as we have on this channel anyway. So again, looking forward to the comments on that one. Here's another one: letting them know your self care boundaries. Tell us exactly what do you mean by that?
So a lot of people get really mad that somebody texts them or calls them late at night. I remember
Mm-hmm.
speaking to somebody, she got a text at like 2 in the morning or something.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Um, and so first of all, there's a lot you can make up about that
Mm-hmm.
person,
Yeah.
but it's also important to let someone know if they're going to call you. I don't take phone calls past a certain time. I wake up early. I'm a night person. I'm a morning person. These are things that you're not going to share everything, but you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, this is how I take care of myself. Instead of getting
Mm-hmm.
pissed off at the other person for not reading your mind, we talk about this all
Mm-hmm.
the time on the
Mm-hmm.
channel, and you want to tell them this is how I operate best. And it comes up with eating also, like
Mm-hmm.
restaurants. I know so many people who would not say that they have dietary restrictions, and
Mm,
then they'll go to a restaurant and have nothing to eat. This is a self-care boundary. Yes, I
mm-hmm.
am vegan and I
Yeah.
can, let's see it on the menu if I can eat anything here.
Mm-hmm.
If not, I have some great suggestions.
Yeah,
That's
and
it.
you can bring that up without sounding picky or bossy or I mean
No.
it's just it is what it is. This is who you are, and as you
Mhm.
say here, if you let that go or if you don't communicate that, the resentment's just going to build. You're not built, you're not making a true connection. So yeah, think about that. Do
Yeah.
you take care of yourself in that process? It's a really
Yeah,
really
the,
good
the
point.
right person is going to respect you for it, and the
Mm-hmm.
wrong person is going to push back.
Again, it sounds so like we should know this, so obvious, but this is an important point, especially for women, because we do tend to be accommodating and wanting to make something happen. And again, I'm pointing on myself because I have done that. I've canceled plans with my friends. I don't think I'd do that again. I really don't think I would. And so anyway, think about that. Great point. This is interesting too. Telling them about your pace in dating. I guess that's something though that just comes up organically. I mean, you wouldn't sit down and say, okay, here's how I want to pace this. What do you mean by that, Sandy?
Let me know your pace in dating.
Yeah.
No, we don't have that discussion. What happens is somebody is going to want something
Mm-hmm.
like sex early on, or to come pick you up at your house. I
Mm-hmm.
saw a post the other day by another dating coach where she puts up little screenshots of texts on
Mm,
dating apps, and this
mm-hmm.
woman had said she was getting ready to meet this guy, and he said, tell me your address and I'll pick you up. And she said, I don't give my address out before I know somebody better.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, that's a deal breaker for me because I'm a gentleman. I always pay and I always pick up the woman at their house. Now that's a
Mm-hmm.
weird deal breaker if you ask me, because
Yeah.
most women do not feel safe when a man picks them up.
Right. That's not a good
So
idea. No.
it's not a good idea. He's a
Mm-mm.
total stranger.
Right.
So what I recommend is if somebody asks to pick you up, you say, I don't feel comfortable having somebody pick me up early on. Or
Mm-hmm.
if somebody asks you to go on a hike and it's private and wooded and it's a total stranger and it's a first
Mm-hmm.
date, it's the pace of that's something that happens for me. That sounds like a great idea if we hit it off and
Right.
we keep dating.
Yeah.
I like to meet in a public place. So those have to do with pace. And then you also want to know your own pace when it comes to sex. Are you comfortable with sex right away? And if you're not, and somebody really comes on strong, then express yourself. I like to build slowly. I'm into just kind of building a trust and a relationship before I have sex, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, let them know. I mean, there are dating coaches who say you should go on X amount of dates before you have sex. And you tell the man that you go on
Yeah.
26 dates before sex. And I'm like, I don't know, the guy would be out of here because he's given up patience to
Yes.
wait for you. Again, you've got to express what works for you and
Mm-hmm.
see if that works for them. That's really
Right.
what dating is all about. And so that's what I mean by pace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I was teasing you, but sometimes people take things very literal, and I just it helps to clarify because it's such an important point. You do want to communicate that. Again, we're talking about mistakes, communication mistakes early in the dating process. And somebody does need to understand what makes you comfortable or not. Asking for clarity, the last one here, asking for clarity when confused. That one of the biggest issues, as you see here, is that we make assumptions about what the other person is thinking or wants or what they meant by what they said without asking.
Big mistake. And we do that not just in dating, we do it with everyone. We make up stories. Oh, they did this because they don't like me, or they did this because they're rude. We have no idea.
Yeah.
We bring our own stuff to all of these stories that we make up. So my advice is to ask for clarity, not
Mm-hmm.
make up stories. And you're
Mm-hmm.
probably going to find out something that is nothing like you thought. And it will calm you down to know what's true. It may not be what you like, it may not be what you wanted to hear, but it's always good to hear the truth
Right.
because then you can make good choices.
Yeah. One thing that I found out over these last few years, somebody did point it out, is that most stuff is not about you.
It's
Most of,
true.
because we tend to be very self-focused, and anytime we're in some sort of conflict or whatever's going on, somehow it's about us. And we find that when you really dig into it, to your point, a lot of times it's not, it has nothing to do with us. And making assumptions early in the dating process, yeah, absolutely, you need to ask that. And again,
Mhm.
something I wish I would have done several times. I guess we think of it almost as an intrusion or rude, or we're embarrassed, I don't know, but it's something that a lot of people don't do.
Well, it's vulnerable. It's vulnerable to bring things up, especially after you've made up a story. And so I wanted to piggyback on what you just said about it's
Okay.
usually not about us.
Mm-hmm.
What I will say is it's usually about something that happened to us when we were children.
Okay.
And we are bringing that to the table
Mm-hmm.
today. And it's really not about the person in front of us. It's about the
Mm-hmm.
wounds that we still haven't healed.
Good
And
point.
so we interpret, oh, we were ignored as children. Our needs were not met. We were told we didn't matter. None of our
Mm-hmm.
feelings mattered. And so whenever those things happen, we get triggered and then we make up a story. Oh, that person
Mm-hmm.
was doing this. So that's an important thing to just take a moment, be aware this is not the person in front of you. This is actually your parent or
Yeah.
your sibling or something that happened to you in the past that's triggering these memories that make you have these experiences all over again.
Really, really great points to ponder. And I look forward to the comments on this and questions. Sandy, thanks as always for your time. I really, really appreciate talking with you. As always, we'll link to all of your information to your website. Sandy's a great coach, and you have all sorts of classes going on. As you said, you have a communications class, which directly, of course, pertains to what we talked about today. And then, of course, your book, which covers so much of what we talk about in all of our segments. And I look forward to our next conversation on Second Act TV.